let me kind of talk about a little bit about the overview of the topics in chapter 3. So what we'll do is we're going to look at the pivot tables. Then we're going to talk about data visualization. And basically, data visualization just means tables and charts, but mostly charts, pictures. You want to visualize your data so you could tell quickly what's going on, and that's very important in when you do the data analysis and also when you present your results to your the manager or whoever you're reporting to. Okay, and we'll talk about the what kind of charts are appropriate in different situations and learn how to do all these different charts, and that is it. So. Okay, so here we got. So now, first thing we talk about tables. So, and we're going to talk now. We're going to use the pivot tables to do crosstabs. So that's one of the purposes of pivot table. By crosstab, we mean so you have sort of conditions. Like for instance, I want to kind of categorize the people in the class. So I might be wondering, okay, how many are how many are male, how many are female students, and also how many are seniors, how many are juniors, and so forth. So I might have build a table, right? So I might have maybe gender might be in the gender might be like male, female, and maybe there's somebody who's kind of, I don't know, some other gender or going through some transition or whatever. So maybe there are 3 categories. And then you have different class standing, like junior, senior, sophomore, and so forth. So you might have columns, the sophomore, junior, senior, and then the gender, you have some categories. And then for each gender category and the class and the category, I want to know how many there are. So how many are boys who are seniors, or how many are women who are juniors, and so forth. So the pivot table we're going to use to do crosstabs and many other things. Okay, so now this is an example that's actually right out of the book. We're going to we're going to make a bunch of different pivot tables with this. But before we do that, I want to look at the example that we already did in chapter 2 when we, the soft drinks example, because you're already familiar with that. And there's a very quick way to do the same thing we did now when we're using the pivot table. So if you open your restaurant data, the first thing you're going to see is the soft drinks data that you already saw before, right? Remember this? There's 50 rows here. You got the Coke, Diet Coke, and so forth. And what we did here, we built a frequency distribution using what kind of function? Count if, yeah, right? Count if, right? Yeah, count if. So count if is what we used, and that's because this was what kind of data? Quantitative or categorical?
Category data.
All right. So categorical data, which means it's enough to use count if. Right? For each category, you're just counting. All right. So categorical data, you could just use count if to build a frequency distribution. So I could quickly do this using a pivot table. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, let's see. So you just click anywhere in your data, right? Click anywhere in your data, and can you see here in the Insert tab where you might want to click on? So we're going to click on the pivot table, and then let's see what it says here. Let's see. So it says select a table or range. This means, oh, well, it already guessed right, I think, right? So it just if you have already selected some cell in your data, it guesses that maybe you want the pivot table of the where you are, of the data range where you are. So it says okay, A1 to A51. Does this look right? Let's see. So you could always check, right? Go okay, that looks right, right? So that's A1 to A51. Okay, and then it wants to know where do you want the pivot table. Do you want it on a new worksheet or an existing worksheet? Now, normally you want it in a new worksheet. Normally you want it on a new worksheet because you might kind of do things with it, and then that might mess up, your data. If you have your pivot table here and then you're rearranging things, and that could, so that could affect the rest of what's on the sheet. Yes. So A1, yes. So we want to include the label, right? So that's a very good question. You want to include the label so that, and it's going to be called a field name. So it's going to refer to all these different labels, field names, and so you definitely want to include the label. So you want to give it a name. Okay, so there's that, and there's it here. So for now, because I'm not going to do a whole lot with this, I'm just going to put it on the current worksheet. So I'm going to go click on existing worksheet, and I'm going to tell it where to put it. Let's see. Probably try to organize, maybe put it like about here, just below the result we got already. So I'm clear in the location, I'm going to put it about here. And then I'm going to say OK. So I need to decide what to put in the pivot table. So this just gives you kind of like a layout. This is where I'm gonna put your pivot table. So now tell me what to do, what to put in that pivot table. And then what do you see here? Pivot table field. So this is like your headquarters. Right? So this is where you are going to tell pivot table what to put, in your pivot table. And so it gives you a list of the fields. So now we're going to call these fields instead of variables, but it means the same thing. So there's one field because we have only one column of data in our, what we selected. So this is it. If you selected more than one column, then you would see, more than one things listed here. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want to put the soft rings. Maybe I put it in the rows.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does this do? We got rows. So this gives you the labels. So you're telling Excel for the row headings or row labels, I want to use the categories in this column, the values in this column. And then, so these are the headings. And then for the values, what do I want? Okay, so I'm going to drag the soft rings again here. And wait, now what happened? So is this what we expected? See, I get the same thing. Same thing I have here. So yes, that's what I expected. So that's good. That's a good thing. Okay. So you can see here, I don't have to use counted function. I could just kind of build the pivot table and then just drag things and there it is. There's my result. So this is like the simplest version of a pivot table. You could do lots of more sophisticated things with it. Okay. Now let's see what this looks like. And then you could see that now I could. It looks like here I could move it around. Maybe I could maybe put it closer to my data. Let's see. Okay. Now I double click on it. It kind of now it anchors to the right of my screen. Oh well, that's good to know. And so you could kind of experiment with it, and have fun with it. Okay. So let's see. And now what do I see here? Now when I click on inside my pivot table, you could see you get two extra menus, customized for your pivot table. And there's the Analyze tab and the Design tab. So let's see, Analyze tab. So you don't have to know everything here, but we're gonna move some of the things. We're gonna do, we're gonna use some of the things. So here's a field list here. So you could see the field list is just this thing, this pivot table fields, list of the pivot table fields. Now what happens is that if I click away from my table, if I click somewhere else, it disappears. If I click somewhere in here and then it appears. Now suppose somebody just kind of unhighlighted this. So somebody clicked on it, now it's gone. Okay, now you receive this. So now you have this file, and this looks like there's a pivot table here, but wait, where's my field list? Then now you know what to do. Go to Analyze, and then you just click on the field list to make it appear again. Okay, so there's that. Okay. We're not going to play around with the recommended pivot tables too much, but that's one option. If I go over to Insert, and then I do the recommended pivot tables, it will give you something, and it looks like it gave me exactly the same thing here. Okay, so that's kind of one way to start. If you're really not sure what you want to do, how you should build it, that might be one way to start. But for now, for us, we are going to know what to do. So we'll not have to use recommended pivot table unless we feel like it. Now we're going to go over to, let's see, our restaurants. our restaurant data here, and then talk about it a little bit before we start using the pivot tables. So here's this is just the first 10 rows of the data. And now how many rows do we have? How many rows do you see here? I mean, not on my screen, but on your screen. So how many rows are there? 300, right? So 300 rows, so 300 restaurants. So it's a kind of, now it's kind of, we're getting serious now. So now we have hundreds of rows to analyze. So we have 300 restaurants, and what we're told is that this is supposed to be it's a made-up data. It's a restaurants that are in the Los Angeles area. There's lots of restaurants there, and we have some characteristics of each restaurant. We got the quality rating here. Meal price and the wait time, and obviously in each restaurant the meal price and wait time are going to vary, but these are just averages, so average number for each restaurant. Okay, now do you see what kind of quality ratings we have? We got good, we got very good, we got excellent. Anything else? Poor? Do you see poor?
I don't see poor in here.
Oh, no poor. Everything is what? Good? Good, very good, excellent. Well, talk about great inflation. So basically when you read, if it says good, that means bad. Okay, so that's what it is. And excellent means good, very good means good. Okay, and so the three quality ratings. And okay, let's see what other. So this is just it tells you how to use the pivot table, and then here are the questions that we're going. A couple of questions, like screens of questions we're going to answer. So the first question we're going to answer is: do you have to wait longer at better quality restaurants? Do you think you have to wait longer at better quality restaurants? Like to wait to be seated?
Yes.
So this example is actually kind of relevant to me because I actually go to California a lot, and I'm actually Los Angeles area. That's where my family is. My parents. Now they're getting older, but my parents and my brothers all they actually live in Simi Valley, which is about 40 minutes from downtown Los Angeles. And because I feel guilty for having left them there, and I come to the Northeast area to go to graduate school, I visit them quite a lot. And so I visit them twice a year, and I drag my husband. Now I drag everybody there, my kids. And then we eat out, and then a lot of times we eat out. And my husband is very particular about restaurants. I'm not. I just like cheap, good food. That's it. And I don't want to have to wait. No waiting for me. I don't want to have to wait. So I want it efficient. I want things efficient. I want good tasting food, relatively healthy food. I just want to eat and get out. Okay, but my husband is the opposite. And so he cares very much about ratings. So every meal is an adventure when we are taking a trip. So he needs to look at all the ratings, read all the comments, because some of the reviews are fake, so he has to distinguish among the good ones, reviews and bad ones. And so it's really a workout, to go out to a restaurant. My problem is that if you go to like a really popular good restaurant, you have to wait a long time. Especially in like LA area, you could wait for like an hour and a half just to get seated. And so that I don't really like that. So I want to see, okay, is it really true that you have to wait longer at the better quality restaurants? So let's suppose that this is pretend this is real data, and we're going to see. And so what we would need to do is, what do we need to do? We need to know for each quality, what is the average waiting time? Is that right? So on the average, which one has the longer wait? So I would have to, okay, let's see how I would calculate that. No, and then there's here. So what I want to do is I want to do something like this. Like this. So there's a quality here, and I want to do good, very good, excellent, and let's make it a little thinner. And then I want to know average weight. So I want to make a table like this. And so we're going to go to the pivot table. So at this point, we could just do insert, right? Insert pivot table. Does anybody have a PC? Windows? With Windows? Nobody has Windows? Oh, okay. Well, you are lucky. so because you have a special shortcut. But, if you have Windows, to insert a pivot table, you could hit Alt and then N and then V. You don't have to hold it down, just Alt and V. But that's just for you right there. For the rest of the people, we'll have to go to the insert and then the pivot table. Insert in the pivot table, which is really not a big deal, right? Okay, so here it is. Okay, does it look right? Right, so A1 to D301. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so basically, you go to insert pivot table, looks fine, and then just say OK. So insert pivot table, say OK. Since you have already good data here, say OK. So now you have a new sheet where you could start on your pivot table. Okay. Okay, so let's see. We are here. So now we're going to do, no, not this. We're going to do this table using a pivot table. Okay. So what do you see here? It looks like the quality should go into where? Quality range should go into the rows, right? Okay. So let's go over to the rows. That's a good start. And what should we have for the values? We're just going to do wait time. So let's go with the wait time. So wait time is over here. So let's put it into values. And whoa, that's a long waiting time. So excellent restaurant, you have to wait 2,120 minutes. That's a sum. Oh. Here, what happens is that when you use a numeric data, like waiting time, the default is the sum. So it's going to just give you the sum. So if you want the average, you just have to change it to the average. So how do you change it? You just go over here and then go over to, there's the Analyze and Design tab. Okay, let's go to Analyze. And you could go to the Field Settings. Right, so Analyze tab, Field Settings. Field Settings. And then here you could, now you could specify different things. Do I want the average? Do I want the count? Do you want the sum? And so there it is. So summarize values by what? Average is what I want. Average here. Okay. And now for Mac people, you probably have a data, like summarize data, but it means the same thing. Okay, so you guys see that? Right. So it was the analyze. So you need to have, you gotta click on, here, in your pivot table, and then you should be able to see this analyze, pivot table, analyze. Then go over to field settings. Then go to the summarize values by or data by, and you should be able to see the average option there. So you can see that we have all kinds of options here. If you want longest waiting time, there it is. Shortest waiting time, min, and so forth. There's like other. You could if you want standard deviation of waiting time, you could get that too right here. Okay, so let's do the average and then say okay. So here it is. Okay, so is this the same result as before? Yeah. Right, it's the same result. And okay, so looks good. Okay, now let's do a little bit formatting here. If you were to present this to your boss, would you present it with all these decimal digits?
No, you would present it with a round.
Right, so you want to round it so that maybe you want to keep one decimal digit, but it's really you don't want to keep all those decimal digits. So you could now normally what would you do in order to show the rounded numbers?
The decimals.
You do like decrease decimals, right? So you might go here and maybe the decrease decimals, or you go to format cell or something. But wait, don't do it. So now when you use this option, you're formatting the cells, right? So like here, you're formatting the cells. So that is like cells that hold. It's like the boxes. Boxes are holding the information. You're not actually formatting the information. When you use pivot tables, you want to format your data in the pivot table. not the cells that are holding the numbers, because now, so you're going to run into trouble if the cells are formatted a certain way, and then you put this pivot table somewhere else, and you put something else in the cell, and then it's still going to have the same formatting that inherited from the pivot table. So you want the formatting to move with the pivot table. In order to do that, you want to use not the format cells option, but go back to Analyze, go to Field Settings, and you could see there's a number format. Right? You guys see that? Go back to the Field Settings, and there's a number format button somewhere in the bottom. So that's where you want to do the formatting. So number 4, and then it looks just like the format cells, but I swear it's different. So we're going to go over to number, and hello, and maybe 1 decimal place, right? So number, 1 decimal place, and you don't have to select all the numbers here, just select one number, and it's going to understand you want that data, that field to be formatted with a 1 decimal place. Okay, so we're going to say okay, and then okay, right? So okay to get out. Okay, and there it is. So here it is. Okay, so again, remember, this is what we did, right? So we clicked on the number format, and then we went to they gave us this menu, and selected number, and then the decimal place. I want to show you that all these instructions are on that other file, the finished file. So if you get lost somewhere, you fall behind, don't stop me every time, because we gotta move on sometimes. So go over to restaurant finished, right? Restaurant finished file, and if you look at like this one, okay, quality, first the third sheet. Look at the third sheet. So okay, so this is what we just did. This part, right? These are the instructions for what we just did, and that part is this one column. To get to the one column, we had to do these instructions. Now we're going to do the second column and the third column, following these other instructions. So maybe to make it a little bit easier, I will I'll kind of put this somewhere so that we could look at it sometimes. Okay.
So which sheet are we going to be starting
Okay,
with?
but you should be working on the data file. You should be working on the data file.
Okay, yeah.
Not the finished file.
Yeah, I'm on the data file.
Okay, right. So the reason that we don't work on the finished file is that because there's already some work done on it, so there is some formatting and all the stuff that was already saved. So that could get confusing if you work on a finished version. So it has some settings that's already there. Okay, so restaurant data, so we work on the data file, so we're here. Okay, but we could look at it. Okay, what do we want to do? We want to now, what about the meal price? Meal price.
You can filter that in too. You could put that in there.
Okay, so to let's say I want to know the average meal price, I just have to add it. I just have to add it to the values. So I got the waiting times. Now I also want to find the average meal prices. So that's another kind of set of values I want. So I add it to the meal price. Okay, so again, what happened? I got a sum. So, but you guys know what to do. You have experience now. Okay, so right here, okay, field settings, average, and say okay. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so that's one. So again, there's always like many ways of doing things. So that's a kind of standard way. Go to Analyze tab, go to Field Settings, or if you go to the here, if you go here, you could also go to the Field Settings that way. So if you click on like one of these little drop-down boxes, and you could go to Variable Field Settings, and you get the same thing here. I think it's a little faster to just go to here. Now also, if you do right click, you should be able to see Variable Field Settings there, or the field settings. So that still works for Mac, either version. So here, and that gives you the same thing, right? Okay, so there are like at least 3 ways to get to those field settings. Okay, now Now again for the formatting, okay, too many decimal digits, you guys know what to do, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I just want the cents, right? So change it to the number format and the currency, right? With the dollar sign, or the accounting. You know, if you're like an accountant, maybe use that. So either way, it's fine. Okay, so there it is. So here are the average meal prices. So is this what you expect? Kind of like the relationship, you know, how the meal prices are ordered.
Yes.
All right. So excellent has a 34.35 average. Good is 1973. Very good is 25.63. Right. Okay. Okay.